tech companies are no longer looking for just full-stack engineers. In fact, remember when job postings used to look like this? Well, now those requirements are completely different. But most people are still listing the wrong skills on their resumes and getting rejected, and they still don't know why. Hi, I'm Pooja, an ex-Microsoft software engineer with over 7+ years of experience in the industry. I spent hours researching what companies are actually looking for in 2026 when hiring engineers. I've even spoken to some hiring managers and senior engineers in big tech that have seen the landscape completely shift, and the developers that are coming in that they're seeing now have a completely different skill set.
There have been a lot of messes that have been produced from AI, and people just blindly accept whatever changes are coming in, and it creates havoc.
In 2023, like a few years ago, the skills I think were much more framework related and language related. So it's like you needed to know about React if you wanted to do front end stuff. But it's like at this point, we are moving away from people spending a lot of their time coding to a lot of their time collaborating with agents.
So today, I want to teach you how to build these skills and craft an entirely new resume, one that will get the attention of the ATS system and many different companies. And the interviewees that I have as guests today also have great nuggets of advice. So you'll want to stick around to find out more. Okay, so let's get into it. So earlier, I showed you a quick snippet of a job posting that I came across. It had requirements like ML ops and platform engineering. Now, if we contrast that with jobs from 2023 or 2024, they're actually completely different now. And to show you, I actually built an agent that goes out and finds these job postings that were posted in the last week, and it compares it to job postings back in 2023, just to show you the difference in skills that companies are looking for. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of different sections because this agent is pretty cool. It created a side-by-side and then showed us the difference between 2026 job requirements and 2023 job requirements. So here, when we look at the side-by-side, you can see that LLM fine-tuning and prompt engineering, RAG pipeline development, multi-agent workflow orchestration, those are things that are being found at an 80% or higher rate on these job listings. And then side-by-side, you can see that the 2023 job postings would have things like React, Vue, Angular, Node.js and Express, Python, Django, although I do think Python is still kind of relevant today, SQL, Postgres, SQL. And to be clear, I think these programming languages in general are still relevant, but they're not as relevant as these other keywords. Now, you start to see a pattern with these keywords, like RAG pipeline development, AI gateway and model routing, and prompt engineering, of course. And these highly differ from what we used to see back in 2023. Things like React, Angular, Node.js, and Python. And Derek, a software engineer at Microsoft, noticed the shift too.
In 2023, like a few years ago, the skills I think were much more like framework related and language related. So it's like you needed to know about React if you wanted to do front end stuff. But it's like at this point, we are moving away from people spending a lot of their time coding to a lot of their time collaborating with agents. And so it's like you just need to know conceptually in 2026 how a cloud service works, how a CI/CD pipeline works, and then AI can figure out the details. In 23, being expected to know the details of how to implement something and like the exact technologies to use, to in 2026 knowing the concept of those things and letting AI figure out like the most recent like tooling and like languages and stuff to use, and then just being able to kind of double check it and make sure that it's doing what you expect it to do.
Okay, so what do we do with this new information? We know that the requirements have changed, and a resume like this won't cut it anymore. So what I've done is I've gone through a bunch of different resources, online classes, tutorials, webinars, and even opportunities that you can take on at work to see how someone can add these skills to their resume. So the first set of skills that comes up frequently from the list that the agent pulled are the AI and ML skills. And we're not going to talk about prompt engineering. I trust that you can probably figure that out on your own. Instead, we're going to look at things like RAG pipeline development, multi-agent workflow orchestration, and ML and LLM ops. Okay, so first up is RAG pipeline development. If you don't know what RAG is, it's basically a way to feed an LLM specific curated data so that it answers from sources that you control versus just the training data or the internet. So for example, you can ask an LLM, what are the benefits of eating protein for neuroplasticity? And you can feed it academic studies to actually read from rather than it just using training data or looking things up on the internet. And companies are really looking for people that know how to use RAG pipelines, and specifically how to set up vector embeddings that the LLMs can pull from. Remember, having clean and accurate data is the very first step.
Is this something I really need to deep dive into? I'd say you need to know RAG as well as you need, as well as you can look something up in Google. It should be first nature for you to be okay, we're gonna have to do RAG in some way, shape, or form. I don't even call it RAG anymore. It's just we need to build context in some kind of way, and the mechanism is RAG. Yeah, it just has to be second nature that you just do it. Knowing the inner workings of an LLM is super important, because a lot of times you'll hear people talking about they had a bad experience with AI, they don't use it anymore, and it's largely because they don't understand how it's being used.
So I promised I'd give you guys resources, and deeplearning.ai on Coursera is one of the best ones, hands down. Now, I've recommended their platform before because their courses are free and they're really accessible, and I've also included a resume template to show you how you can actually showcase these skills. Because remember, learning these skills is just the first step. You have to actually be able to showcase them in a way that companies want to hire you as well. Okay, so the next skill is multi-agent workflow orchestration. Multi-agent workflow orchestration is a mouthful, but it's basically when you have multiple AI agents, each executing a different task, but working together to solve a bigger problem. And I've actually shown an example of how to do this on UiPath in the past. And companies are already heavily into the production of these agentic workflows. And most jobs nowadays won't consider you without this skill. Okay, so how do you get this skill? A good hands-on way is to go to UiPath and start tinkering around. I have an entire video on how to use it, so consider that your tutorial. If you want a proper course to go check out, then you can check out deeplearning.ai's agentic course. It covers the 4 design patterns that power multi-agent systems: reflection, tool use, planning, and multi-agent coordination. Okay, so I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, Supabase. Supabase is a really cool Postgres development platform. As soon as you create a new project, they instantly give you full access to a Postgres database, authentication, instant APIs, edge functions, real-time subscriptions, storage, and vector embeddings. It's all right there instantly. So you don't need to worry about setting all these things up manually. They've got you covered. I actually wanted to go through a demo of how easy it is to get started and how to integrate Supabase really quickly into your own project. So this is the dashboard. You can create a new project right here. And once it's set up, as you can see, I already have an active database running. You can manually create a table, write queries, or just poke around directly in the dashboard itself. Now, let's say you're building a Python project. To connect to Supabase, you just install the package with npm install at supabase/supabase-js. You drop in your environment variables and you set up your client. Once you're finished, your API talks directly to Supabase data. And that's not all. Supabase auto-generates an API directly from your database schema, so you can hit it through a RESTful interface directly from the browser if you need to. The whole point is to get you building as fast as possible, without writing boilerplate code from scratch. Honestly, the setup takes minutes. It was so easy for me. And migrating existing data from Firebase, Postgres, or other sources is just as straightforward. And they have solid documentation to walk you through all of it. And the link is in the description if you want to dive in, so go check it out now. And now, back to the video. And the last AI and ML skill that we're going to cover, but of course there's more, is LLM ops and ML ops, which are 2 different things, but I'll explain them. So if you know what DevOps is, it's not just coding. It's handling cloud resources, configs, infrastructure, logging. It's all the stuff that keeps your app running and monitors it. So ML ops is about operationalizing machine learning models. We're talking training pipelines, data versioning, model retraining, experiment tracking. Tools like MLflow, Kubeflow, and SageMaker kind of fall into this category. Next up is LLM ops, which is a little bit different. So this is about specifically running LLMs in production. So you have prompt versioning, managing API calls to models, monitoring for hallucinations and output drift, cost tracking per token, latency optimization, and guardrails. So you can use tools like Langsmith, Weights and Biases, and Helicone to actually learn this stuff. And there's actually a free Weights and Biases course that I would highly recommend checking out if you want to learn this. It's actually directly from the team behind one of the most used MLOps and LLM ops tools in production. It covers implementing MLOps and LLM ops solutions, and they have a new course on AI agents built in collaboration with OpenAI. So definitely go check them out. And remember, check out the resume template as well, because you can see how exactly you can frame your learning from the courses that I specified into something like a resume that companies will see and the ATS system will pass. Okay, so we've gone through AI and ML skills that companies are looking for, but what about the back end? Coding is still technically relevant. In fact, I still think it's super relevant to know how to code and to understand how the computer works behind the scenes.
Whatever you're prompting your agents to do, it's not perfect. You still need to understand what it's producing, and if you don't, you're just going to be a risk for your company with whatever slop that it can produce. And if you're not careful, you're just going to create a whole mess.
But in terms of translating these skills onto your resume, let's look at the data. So there's a few keywords that we can look at for the backend, and we're going to include the database category as well. Rust for systems and backend comes up, and also GraphRag and knowledge graphs. So why Rust? I looked into it and found something interesting. Most backend engineers know Python, JavaScript, or Go. The problem with Python is it's especially slow and memory hungry at scale. For AI infrastructure specifically, you need something that runs fast and doesn't have unpredictable garbage collection pauses. And what also makes Rust different from C or C++ is its memory safety model. So it catches an entire category of bugs, like null pointer errors or memory leaks at compile time. That's a huge deal when you're running high throughput AI pipelines, where a memory bug can silently corrupt your data or crash your inference server. Now in practice, a lot of the AI industry tooling is actually built on Rust. Parts of the Hugging Face stack, vector databases like Qdrant, and various inference optimization libraries. So companies want engineers that at least understand Rust. Even if you're not writing it every day, you're still going to be building systems on top of it. The cool part is if you already know a programming language, then this part is a lot easier. But the ATS will specifically look for Rust as your backend language, or sometimes Python, since it's important for maintaining AI and ML systems. So another important thing to know and list on your resume are GraphRag and knowledge graphs. So knowledge graphs are basically the foundation on which GraphRag is written on. A knowledge graph is a way of storing data as relationships between entities rather than rows in a table like a traditional database. So instead of user table, product table, order table, you have nodes and edges. Customer A purchased product B, which belongs to category C, which is related to brand D. The relationships themselves are the data. And GraphRag actually fixes previous issues from retrieving from a knowledge graph rather than from a vector database, for example. So the model doesn't just get relevant text, it actually builds relationships between each entity. And Microsoft Research actually published a paper on this in 2024, and since then it's become a legitimate pattern. Now, the reason that companies care about this at an enterprise scale is because knowing that two pieces of information are related are just as important as having the information itself. Think about like a legal firm or a hospital or a bank. The data isn't just the documents. It's a web of connected entities. GraphRag lets AI systems reason over those connections instead of just pattern matching on text. So this is very important to know and list on your resume because companies are looking for someone who understands what a knowledge graph is. Just like we had people that understood typical database management like NoSQL or SQL, this is something that goes beyond that. So that's more or less the full picture of what companies are looking for when hiring software engineers in 2026. And I know it's a lot to take in. RAG pipelines, multi-agent orchestration, LLM ops, ML ops, Rust. It can feel overwhelming, but here's the thing. You don't need it all at once. Start small and pick one skill from the list, learn that skill, build your advantage, and then add it to your resume. Because here's what most engineers are still doing right now. They're submitting resumes that they'd created maybe 2 or 3 years ago, so they're completely outdated and irrelevant. So you'll have an advantage even adding a couple of these things to your own resume. I actually have a resume example from someone who has learned most of these skills and added them in a way that showcases their ability to actually use them. So if you want to use that as a template, I've linked it in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. If this video helped you, subscribe to learn more about career and tech advice, as well as AI tech trends. I cover this stuff pretty regularly. And if you want me to do a technical deep dive on the skills that I showed you before, comment deep dive, and I can make sure that I create a video that actually goes in depth on how to use specific tools and how to build real projects. I read all of the comments, so definitely let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.